Hi, it's Alexis Hasselberger, time management and productivity coach. Have you tried time blocking in the past, but weren't able to stick with it? You just kept blowing past those time blocks. Or maybe you haven't even tried it. But time blocking is a really important tool that you can have in your arsenal to help you be more proactive about your work so that you can get more done that you want to get done and spend less time kind of in reactive mode. Now, if you have had trouble with time blocking in the past, there's probably a number of different reasons that that could have been. And my last video was actually about that. There are 6 different reasons I find that people may have had trouble with time blocking in the past. And if you want to go back and watch that and see where you fall, go ahead and do that. But in this video, I'm going to be sharing about how to do time blocking right. So really, what do we want to be doing when we're thinking about time blocking? So one of the things we want to think about with time blocking is that we want to be making sure that we are looking at the full picture. So when we time block, we don't want to just time block in a vacuum by putting one random block on our calendar. We want to be specific and we want to make sure that it's in context with everything else. So what are the things that you should be blocking? What should you be thinking about so that you're taking your full workload into account when you're blocking time on your calendar for you to be doing certain things, right? So meetings on your calendar, those are meetings you have with other people. Time blocking is appointments you have on your calendar with yourself to get certain work done, right? So what should you be thinking about? First thing is big projects. Like if you have a big project, it's not due for a couple of months, but it's going to take like 20 hours of work, block that time now. Make sure that it's on your calendar, even if it's not perfect, so that you can look at your calendar and know, how much time you have left over. What can you say yes to and no to? Another thing to block time for is communication. So email and Slack. We tend to think that these are just things that are somehow going to get done in the background of our work, and it's just not true. We need to actually block time for them to make it happen. And so think about how much time it typically takes you, or maybe even track it, and then block time for that. I tend to find that, blocking a couple of half-hour or 45-minute sessions a day will get me to inbox zero, Slack zero, and get all those little quick tasks done that tend to happen in those communication realms, right? So little things that take 2 to 5 minutes that are typically happening over email. I block those together in blocks called email/quick tasks, or sometimes they even abbreviate it as EQT. Now, you also want to block time for recurring obligations. So if you have quarterly planning that you need to do at work and it always seems to sneak up on you, or your annual review process, block recurring time for those things. Maybe you have a monthly financial process that you need to do. Block time for that. The more accurate your calendar is, the more it kind of really reflects what's on your task list, the easier it'll be for you to know what's on your plate, what you have room for. Now, another thing to block is end of day planning time. So if you have been watching me for long or reading anything that I write about, I often talk about end of day planning, which is just spending a couple of minutes at the end of your workday to make sure that nothing is left overdue, that you've moved it to the right time, not just pushing to tomorrow, but when are you actually going to be able to do those things? And looking at tomorrow and making sure that you have a realistic plan, that your task list makes sense with your calendar, that you have time to do the things that you have on your task list. And if not, you're reprioritizing those. Another thing we want to make sure to block time for is travel time. Over the last 18 months, this has not necessarily been something we had to worry about, but we're coming back into a world where we might be having in-person meetings again. And if you have an offsite meeting and it's going to take you 45 minutes to get there and you haven't blocked that on your calendar, well, somebody might just take that time and now you're having to reshuffle your meetings, and that is no fun. Now, if you're somebody who has trouble taking breaks or maybe even just eating lunch, block it on your calendar. That is a great thing to do because otherwise, just might not happen. What about exercise? Do you ever just find the time to do exercise? No, right? You got to build that into your schedule. We never find the time. So put it in your calendar and you're more likely to go to it because, quite frankly, we're used to showing up for what's on our calendar. Now, this is all great in theory, right? We have talked about all these different things that you can block, but how do you actually do it? So there are 3 key times that I want you to think about for time blocking. The first time is when you commit to the work. So if you have committed to doing something, then it makes sense to put the time on your calendar when you are going to do that thing. Is it going to be perfect? Are you going to estimate the exact right amount of time? No, but that's okay. Give yourself a little bit of buffer there, right? The other time that you want to do it is during end of day planning. So you want to adjust those time blocks for tomorrow to make sure that your calendar and your task list still make sense together. And then the last time that you want to do time blocking is really when you're doing more longer term planning. So if you're doing end of week planning and you're looking at your task list, you want to be always, whenever you're time blocking, you want to be looking at your calendar and your task list side by side, and you want to essentially be making sure that they work. Now, is it a 1-to-1 ratio? No, right? You have a lot of little things that those are going to take 2 minutes, follow up with this person, et cetera. You're not going to block those separately. You are going to block those into quick tasks, as I said before, right? So it's not exactly 1-to-1, but you're going to think of your calendar like Tetris. You're going to put blocks on your calendar for when you need to do the things on your list. And if those things have to shift for some reason, you want to think of that calendar like Tetris. You want to be moving them around. You can't delete a block because you still have to do the work, but where can you move it that it actually makes sense? So I hope this has elucidated how we do this sometimes ethereal type of time blocking, right? Hopefully this has made it a little bit more practical. If you have struggled with time blocking in the past, are there areas that you've just forgotten to time block? Or, what has it been for you that has been the trouble? Drop something into the comments. Or if you have a really fantastic way that you time block or a time that you do it, drop that in the comments as well so we can share with everyone and gain some best practices here. If you are not subscribed to this channel, but you want more info like this, please go ahead and subscribe so that you don't miss anything at all.